Welcome to Mom Days, a beautiful collective of mamas and experts sharing wisdom, inspiration, and life hacks to support us on this journey through the hazy days of motherhood. Welcome to the Mom Days podcast. I am so excited to have our guest this week. Now, I need to give a quick little background before we begin. Are you ready? So when I was a few years ago, was looking at and deciding how to get back into connecting with entrepreneurial women and just business mamas again, I had taken a real big step back while we were traveling all over the world. And I thought, I miss the connection with these entrepreneurial women who are just really brilliant in their fields of business, whatever that might be, but are also understanding what it means to be a mama at the same time. So I literally stumbled in a Google search upon this amazing woman right here today, but also what she does. So welcome to Lianne Kim. I am really, really grateful that you took the time to talk with us today. She has been an inspiration to me over the last few years. And I've learned a lot from herself, but also from this, incredible group of women that we've been able to network with. So let me give you a quick introduction, and then I want you to take it away and share a little bit more about maybe where you've come from and what you're doing. But right now, I know that you're on a mission to serve women and moms in particular. But those of us who have a passion for being our own boss, maybe have an idea we want to run with and make some money off of, and do it with joy and do it with some excitement and learn how to do it well as we go along that whole journey. So you are a business coach. You're a founder for Mamas & Co., the founder of Mamas & Co. And that is the amazing group of women that I was so happy to find. And also you have your own podcast. I loved I was actually zooming through some of the topics you've covered. I've listened to a bunch of them, and I always come away with something, a nugget of something, which after, almost 10 years in this type of industry is sometimes hard to take nuggets away after a while, right? So jump in. I want to hear more about, maybe tell us why you went into this direction in your life. What inspired you to do what you're doing now?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, Holly, thank you for having me, and thank you for that glowing introduction. And I had no idea you found me as a result of a Google search. There you go.
Yeah, it was just me looking. I was a part of a European networking moms and business type thing in England. And I thought, come on, I know we do this in Canada. So I just started Googling. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Well, back in the day, the community was much more centered just around networking. And now it's a lot more around giving mamas the tools to start and grow successful businesses. But I mean, however people find me, I'm always so grateful. So yeah. Okay, well, I guess I best kind of take you back to where I was, which I feel like might be where a lot of your listeners are. Several years ago when I had two little babies, I had my kids really close together. They're 22 months apart. Oh, wow. I did at the time I had a day job and things were going okay. I mean, we were managing, but barely, I had to work many hours a day for somebody else, basically building somebody else's dreams. And I can remember a time where I had my daughter, Julia. She was, a toddler. And we had our son, Alex, who was on the way. So I was pregnant with one child, raising a toddler, trying to hold down a job, trying to be great at it and earn commission because I was in sales, doing the daycare pickups, the drop-offs, all of that stuff. And I just remember thinking this is not what I was put on this planet to do. I love being a mom and I was excited about being a mom for a second time. But I just knew that this rat race that I was in was not at all what I had in my heart. And so by that time, I had made some connections with some other mamas who had businesses and they were looking to grow them. And we'd started a little Facebook group and we would meet up once a month at a local pub or something like that. And that was really the start of Mamas & Co. I just thought maybe if there's some other moms like me who have a business or they're thinking of starting a business, if we could all kind of leverage each other's collective knowledge and just have a place where we can ask questions and share our wins and share what we're learning along the journey. Like, how great would that be? We would all just grow that much faster. And that was almost 7 years ago now. And the community, I mean, back then it wasn't even a community. We didn't even have a name. We didn't really it wasn't a business of mine. But now it certainly is a thriving virtual community with people, with members all over North America and the world. And so, it's funny how, like, what I find, and I'm sure you found this as well, is the biggest problems and challenges that we face, often those are the things that we end up helping other people with in our business.
Absolutely. It's been really eye-opening, even just getting to know some of the women in the group as I've used expanded. It's gotten so big compared to even the past few years when I first kind of stepped into what you were doing. And I thought it was amazing to connect with women who not only understood, the ins and outs of everything moms go through who run businesses, but also had some incredible talents and expertise in things I would never have been able to find answers to, or would have known how to connect with someone. So I love that you're talking about just starting out supporting each other. That is how it starts. It starts with just really lifting each other up and saying, hey, you know what, we're trying or thinking along this line. How can we do it together? How can we support each other? And that's, I think, the most beautiful thing about what you do is, as women, us being able to say, hey, as a collective, I like the amount of benefit I've had from just being able to post a question and get answers. I mean, I have a Zoom coming up tomorrow with one of your members just to be able to share information with her and help her out in ways, and then, exchange that information. So I love that was the humble beginning of it, but that you kept it going, you followed it through.
Yeah, I mean, community has always been such an important part of my life. I mean, even growing up, I was, lived in a very tight knit community. Now I also live in a neighborhood where, like, every third person on the street I know them, or my kid goes to school with them. So I think we forget how important having community and having other people around us that know what we're going through and can say, hey, you know what? I've been there too. It's rough, but you got this. And, just keep going. And here are some tips that helped me. Like, I think we discredit how valuable those types of communities can be. And they can be hard to find because, sometimes you can find yourself in communities and think that's, what you're there for. And then, either there's some bad behavior, or one of my cardinal rules when I started Mamas & Co. was no venting. Like, yes, we all have bad days, but this is not just a place for you to come and dump your problems. It's solution oriented. So come with the problem, but then let us help you find the solution, because nobody just wants to be dumped on. And there's so many, I mean, a lot of the free Facebook groups out there, there's all these rules. And yes, I think it's very valuable once you find your squad to really, like, lean in and leverage that squad. And that's something that I've seen you do so beautifully over, like, the last few years, is you really make the most of that membership and that community. And of course, bringing us more amazing mamas like you, which we love to see.
Well, talking about the membership, one of the things I was thinking about the other day, like I said, I was part of another one before, and I've been a part of a few, and you pay for something, and sometimes you pay for maybe a subscription box or this or a membership here, and you never use it, or you kind of touch it a bit, and you're like, this is the first time I've been like, I use this. Like,
oh, great.
Absolutely. It's the difference in the quality of the people in your group. And not to say there aren't high quality people out there anywhere, but when you have people who are genuinely there to support each other, you don't get in there and have, the backbiting. You don't have, oh my goodness, the things, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Right? The competitiveness, or the this or that or the other thing. And I was really disappointed to see that in some of these other platforms where I was hoping to connect. I was hoping to make, not only bring something of value, be able to, learn things as well. So I've been super grateful about that. Now, I need to talk to you about your book. This was, as a fellow author, now not even on the same page as you, though. I have not gone that far yet. Yay! So this is a big deal. I understand the whole birthing a book process. We always joke that it's like almost like having a baby. It has the long wait, the dreaming of it, and then the wait and all the ups and downs and the pains that come with the growing. But then the intense, right? That intensity of getting to launch and so I can feel it. I understand. I get it. We're in the process of even more books coming up this year ourselves. So tell me a little bit about where you went with that. And I'm more than excited to not only share it with people, I plan on giving it away to people as well, but to dive in and read it myself. So
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so thank you for that. The book is called Building a Joyful Business. And I joke like I could have written books called Building a Profitable Business, Building a Successful Business. I chose Joyful Business for a reason. And really, it goes back to about a year ago now. So, spring of 2020, we were a couple months into the pandemic. All of us mom business owners, and even just career moms, stay at home moms, we were all feeling the weight of the pandemic. And I was really feeling it, but I also coach people who were feeling it. So in addition to navigating my own feelings of fear and frustration and guilt and all of those things, every day was spent coaching women who were in the same boat. And what I noticed was there was sort of this theme of women who felt like, oh, I have to do this, or I guess I should be doing this, or and there was a real kind of fear that if they didn't keep doing things, that way or the way that was expected, that they would lose their business. I think a lot of us business owners did fear that when the pandemic hit, and you go into fight or flight mode. And so what I noticed was I was spending a lot of my coaching hours helping women get back to finding joy, not only in their business, but in their life, and finding and making the choices that were empowering and that were aligned with their own personal values and that made them feel really good. And I noticed this trend and I thought, that's the book. I had been thinking about writing a book and I'd even tried writing a few books, but it was that moment, spring of 2020, where I realized enough is enough. People don't need more books on how to work harder or how to make more money. We need more tools and strategies to have more joy, because that's why we're all in this in the first place, right? If we all just wanted to be rich, we would go out and get jobs, or we would go and become lawyers. Yeah,
it's easy to be miserable and rich. I know a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
and they do, but they just do it because it's money, right?
Totally. And I think, and maybe you see this as well with the women that you help on your teams. We kind of get to this place accidentally, whether it's 6 months in or a year in, where we kind of are acting like our business is happening to us.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we wake up every day and we got to do this and we got to do that. But what's interesting is it's our business. We get to decide who we work with and how we work with those people and when we work with them and where we work. But you wouldn't believe the number of people that I hear, like they start behaving like it's not their choice, that it's just sort of like, it has to be this way, because if I don't keep doing it this way, my customers will leave, or they won't like me, or, all the things. So I really wrote this book to help any women, primarily moms, who have a business, or they're even just at the early stages, right? They're just thinking of starting a business. I wrote this as the blueprint so that they don't have to find themselves in that place where they're like, oh, how did I get here? Right? As a servant to this business, right? We can be more intentional. And it just starts with making some of those choices that I walk people through in the book.
I love it. And when you're talking about the title, this is you. Like, I wouldn't expect a different title from, I don't know you well. I mean, I've been getting to know you and I love it, but it fits you. Like, this is what you bring to the table. So honestly, there's no fluff. And having been involved in collaboration leadership books and in business books in the past, and even now still working with other, very wealthy, earners in different industries, it's quick. I've been quick to learn that you can, like you said, you can just be doing things on autopilot, or you can lose your joy in what you do, but you feel stuck because it makes you money, or you can have joy in what you do. And so I completely appreciate that that's the focus, because that's what I get from you. That's what you bring, even when you've had maybe a crappy week, or maybe things haven't been great that day or whatever. We all have that. And that's something I appreciate, is your realness and the fact that we can still choose how we show up. right? And that's one thing that
Absolutely.
this year has taught us in our industry, especially in my industry, is you can look at what your setup is in your team or in your business, and you can blame others where you're at, or you can feel like it's happening to you. But until you take ownership and choose who you want to work with and actually, manifest who you want to work with and then go out and do the work, the joy part is like 100%, I think, is in our hands. We choose happiness, we choose joy. Nobody controls that for us. So when I saw the title of the book and all of it, I went, yes, that's you. That's exactly what you bring to
Aw.
this. So I really appreciate that you went with that. I think it's perfect. Now,
I
one
appreciate that so much. And thank you so much. That's such high praise, especially coming from you. And I just want to really kind of hone in on the magic of what you said there, if you don't mind.
yeah,
I really do believe that we choose joy every single day. Now, that doesn't mean that we can choose our circumstances, right? I don't think I know any single mom who would have chosen to be homeschooling with a global pandemic and running a business. Like, yes, certain elements of those might be joyful to people, but I mean, we can't control
yeah,
all the things that happen to us. All we can control is how we show up. And I think that there are a lot of people right now, influencers and educators and such, that are really kind of leaning into this fear and scarcity mindset. And, all their posts are really, woe is me. And I feel like there's a place for that in your life and in your business and what you share. I just choose to share less of that, because when I think about my purpose on the planet, it is to help female entrepreneurs grow and succeed and feel amazing. And yes, there is a place for being relatable and a place for being vulnerable. But if I stay in that place too long, it's not serving other people, and it's definitely not serving me. So I say be mindful with how much of the real and the raw we share. I think that, like I say, there's a place for that, and we can feel those feels, but then we can pull ourselves together and show up and choose joy and choose to serve joyfully, and the way that I also see you doing. So thank you for that.
yeah. Oh, I completely agree. So funny enough, I've just journeyed into TikTok for the first time ever, thanks to one of your amazing members. Thanks to Samantha.
Yes.
And I finally, so I was doing my homework before I did anything on there. I had said I would never do this. And so I'm in there, researching and following and unfollowing and hiding and all those things that you need to do. And I remember laying there and saying to my husband one night in bed, he's like, "Are you seriously still on TikTok?" And I'm like, "I'm doing my homework." But oh my gosh, the amount of woe is me that's
Mm,
coming out of this platform is
mm,
so overwhelming for someone. I'm an empath through and through. So I really guard a lot of that and I hide a lot of it. I don't want to see it, not because I want to just pretend it doesn't happen, but because I have to guard my energy. But it's one of those things that people, you're right, people can choose I always say you choose what you wallow in, you choose what you wander in, but you have to choose what you're going to go forward in,
mm.
because it's what you're going to attract, right? And I don't know if you agree with that, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, what's the saying? Where your energy goes, where your focus goes, that's where it's all going to come from, right? So at the end of the day, if that's what I'm focusing on all day, and I have friends and colleagues and people in our team that have for a year been stuck in the
Yeah.
government issues, have been stuck in what's going on with all of this. And yes, pay attention to it. Yes, follow your heart. Yes, do your research, whatever it involves, but don't get lost in there because
Mm.
you'll lose joy. And I've watched it get sucked down the drains with so many people this year. So again, the timing of this is perfect. The ability for me to share this with people is perfect because I think we need a reminder of you're going to just attract the people that you bring in are going to be those that you're sitting in. It's that feeling and that emotion that you kind of nurture, right?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'd love to share a quick little coaching exercise, the one that we shared in
Yes.
Mamas and Co. So in
I was
Mamas
just
and Co.
asking you, give us a practical.
Yeah, I have it here. I wrote it down. I mean, it's my chicken scratch, but I can read
Love
it.
it. Yeah.
Um, so every Monday inside the Mamas and Co community, once you become a member, you get weekly business coaching. And sometimes it's more on the mindset and the woo-woo side, and other times it's more like hard-hitting strategy. So this week was, I think, really kind of a little bit of both. And what I encouraged people to do was to think about to make to grab a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and at the top of on the left hand side, write fuels me, and on the right hand side, write drains me. And really all this exercise is designed to help you start to understand what is fueling you and what is draining you. And so we went through a couple categories of things, like even just like from, the bare bones basics of human anatomy, the foods and the beverages we consume, which ones are fueling you, which ones are draining you. We talked about the role that plays in energy and how you show up. We looked at the role of physical movement, right? And I talked about how, like, if I find I'm sitting on the couch too many nights in a row, that really drains me. We looked at rest, going to bed early versus trying to stay up late and work. We looked at the content we consume or the media we consume, which you touched on. Which of the podcasts are fueling you, like Holly's here, and which of the podcasts or news outlets or whatever is social media accounts, which of them are draining you? So we went through and we looked at other, people, and we looked at the activities, how you spend your time. And I encourage you to do this work. If you're listening, just start to pay attention to what is fueling you in your life, what is draining you. And that is going to give you a great clue into what needs to change. Because if you're noticing you've got all these things on the draining you side, then it's time to start looking at them one by one and going, how can I either eliminate this or reduce this or, deal with it in some way? And I think we all need to be doing more of that. We need to be doing more of this, self-awareness and self-coaching work.
Absolutely. And even that goes beyond, that goes into relationships, that goes into parenting, that goes into so many things, right? Because I know for me personally, as someone who doesn't need to be around people, but my husband needs to be around people like 20 times a day. Like he could go 24/7 with a group of people and be more than filled up. And I would be like, take me away. I need a room to myself for the next week now. And we've had to learn that even as a couple, and learning to balance. Now, it's not like I can say to him, you know what? No, you can never have people over and I just can't handle it. It's not me. I could do that, but that wouldn't work. Right. So I think just like your lists, when we're going through our lists and saying, yes, absolutely, I need less of this, or maybe you can't eliminate it. Right. In my case, I can't just be like, you can never have people over, or my kids can never have friends over. Right. I mean, we're in a different situation maybe right now, but I'm enjoying this. I have to be honest. Yeah. I'm kind of reveling it a little bit, but I can say, listen, there's a limit, right?
Yes.
So I think in that same respect, what I'm trying to get to is when you're making these lists, because I've had people say to me when I've said, listen, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the parts that you feel like you can't show up in strongly? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go in there and become experts at those things. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go in and fix all of those things, but then go over to your list of what fills you and go, I need some more of this to counteract that. And when you were doing this yesterday, I was like, yes, it was. My list is actually right here beside me I threw it on the floor with my notebook. But
I love it.
Yeah, I have to redo it. And it was a good reminder because we're in a different time, right?
Yeah.
And I actually need interaction with people right now, which I never thought I'd get to that place where I'd go, with people. So I love that. I love the idea of just self-assessing and saying, okay, where are we at? What's filling me up? And have I even found things that actually fill me up? I've heard so many great stories from moms lately saying, I discovered a hobby I had when I was, a teenager that I reignited the love for doing this or that. And it's so beautiful because it gives you an opening to say, okay, this actually fills me up. And I didn't even think of that. I didn't even consider.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. I feel like right now, so many of your listeners are we're in survival mode. It's not really the time to dream big because we're just trying to get through the days. And I would argue that's how we get back to being in a place of being able to dream big, is by doing this work and by paying attention to our needs. Like one of the things that I tapped into. So I'll share a story about, since you have a lot of mamas on your listening to this podcast. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child, I have a family history of pregnancy loss. My mom and my sister both had multiple miscarriages, and my sister had a stillbirth at 36 weeks. And I was just under the age of becoming a mother myself when that happened. And so heading in, when I found we were pregnant, we had been trying. I was so excited to become a mother. But I found myself, when we found out the news, I had a lot of anxiety around just being able to stay pregnant and being able to give birth and all those things. And I really caught myself early, and I realized that my only job was to live a stress-free life so that I could be as calm as possible, to be in the best condition as possible. And the other things that they tell you, eating well and, all those things matter. But for me, I knew my mindset around the whole situation was going to be so pivotal if I was to have a healthy, successful pregnancy. And so I did a lot of work on that. And I found myself, that's actually a story I don't think I've ever really shared with that many people, but I found myself going back to that mentality when the pandemic hit and thinking, my only job as emotional guide of this family is to, remain as stress-free as possible, and to stay, to stay in a place where I am able to give and help and guide. And so for me, that means, eating really well, because I have a lot of food sensitivities that can make me feel really terrible. It means managing my stress, yoga, meditation, mindful walks, breaking a sweat a couple of times a week. If I'm not doing those things, because we think those things are selfish, right? We think
it's extra.
Carving out an hour for a workout is so selfish. It's not. It is what allows you to be for everybody else. The old adage of putting on your own oxygen mask. It's true. Like, how can you possibly expect to be a great mom, even a good mom, even an okay mom, right? Under these circumstances, we really do. Our society does not value enough that idea of, the term self-care is so overused. So I'll say, like, caring for ourselves, right? You wouldn't expect your children to know how to do this stuff. You would say, here are some strategies, here are some tools. Let's get your bodies moving today. Let's do some cool, let's do some gratitude practice. We are doing that for our children, but we're not doing that enough for ourselves. And we forget how much that is what allows us to be amazing for everybody else. So,
yeah. And I love that you said that, because we're also modeling that behavior, right? If you think about it, I've got a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And when I said enough is enough, I normally skate. I rent the ice and skate. I have my own time. That's just what I've always done. I've trained my whole life. So to be able to keep doing that, I couldn't do that this year. And I was literally felt like I was going out of my legs. It was the weirdest, like, not using my body the way I always had. It was really affecting my mental health and just my emotional health and the way I was with my family. And so I'm like, fine, you know what? We're not going to do that right now. Let's find something else to do. And I don't love yoga. So I found a Pilates program. My body doesn't love yoga. I shouldn't say that. I have back issues that don't always appreciate the position. So I was trying to find something that would work. So I found an app. I paid $80 for a program, and I'm like, I'm showing up. I'm homeschooling these 3 at the same time, but I'm like, you know what? On these 3 mornings in the week, our school starting at 10 a.m. And you can join me or not join me. It's up to you, but this is what I'm doing for an hour. And they all joined me. And it was the best thing ever, because I'm like, whether they could do it or not, we had fun. There was lots of giggles. I got some stretching and workout in. I felt calmer for the rest of the day. And my daughter now, she actually took over my downward dog app, and off she goes. She does yoga 3 times a week herself. And I'm like, well done. I would never have, I don't think she would have ever done that otherwise. So keeping in mind that it's not an extra, it's not a luxury to model that for your kids in one way, but also to do it for yourself. I mean, the fact that we make showering for mamas a self-care part of, no.
No, that was always, since my kids were little, that was always a daily must for me.
Showering is not self-care, ladies. It is, this is just a must.
Yes, it's human existence. Exactly. Well, what I love about what you just said, Holly, is I feel like when we give ourselves the permission to do these things, we're often doing it in private.
Yes.
Right. So we're hiding it away, or, well, I'll do that after the kids have gone to bed. And what I love about you doing that is saying, mommy needs this. You can be a part of this or not. And I think, too, most importantly, for those of your listeners who have audiences of their own or teams of their own, model this to your teams. Model this to your followers and students and clients, because by doing that, we are also giving them permission to have more joy and to put their own needs first. Like, it's sad that we need to give people permission, but if that's what's going to do it, I'm going to keep doing it. So fun fact, I am in a mastermind myself right now with other, business owners at my level. And we have a retreat this coming weekend. And it actually is taking place in Miami. And some of them who feel comfortable and are American, they're going in person. And I'm obviously not. However, what I did decide to do so that I could fully enjoy the experience was I booked 2 nights at a hotel in Toronto.
Yay!
So I am going to enjoy a true retreat, and I'm going to enjoy 48 hours off of being a parent. And I've told my kids about it. And I'm going to, despite the backlash that I might get, I'm going to share this far and wide because I feel like we need to be doing the things that make us us. And we need to be showing our people that that's okay. Whether or not people agree with me spending a night at a hotel or taking time away from my kids, like that's really, I could care less, like I couldn't care less.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. I want us celebrating, putting our needs first and then showing others how to do it. And I think that's the power of platforms like this podcast and social media is we would be doing our audience a disservice if we're not encouraging them to also find their ways of doing it.
Absolutely. That's so amazing. I can't wait for the moment when I can say, 5 of my business partners or somebody, hey, we're going to go have a getaway and do a weekend away. But in the meantime, I think that is one of the best ways you could take part. And there's so many online events. There's so many really encouraging opportunities like Mamas and Co. And you've got Business Boot Camp coming up, right? So
yes,
about that I was very tempted actually to do exactly what you're talking about. We just live like 10 minutes from Blue Mountain, and we still will go like stay a weekend up there, just at a condo or whatever, just to get away. And I'm like, ooh, maybe I will. And when I write, if I'm in the middle of writing, I've got 6 kids books in the works right now that are a series, and I'm like, I might need a week up there just to I'll do it. Right? I have no problem with that. And I think we need to think that way too. Even if you little ones, like having my Thursdays, every Thursday, my kids go and they're either at forest school outside or they're taken care of in a form that's acceptable. And I know I have from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. to do whatever, whether it means I pack in all my work or I do a lot of my recordings on those days, whatever that is, I can just breathe. And I know. And honestly, my kids will tell me that Thursday nights and Fridays, I'm the best mommy because
totally.
Right, I've decompressed a little from the week. And I'm like, so even our mamas who are like, I don't have family nearby or whatever that looks like, getting your partner or having a babysitter or someone who can give you a couple of hours even to just do something that maybe others would think is extra. But in reality, it's just keeping you going at the level you need to operate at. So I'm going to move on. I want to talk about boot camp though before we finish up. So tell me what's happening with Business Boot Camp because this excites me.
Okay, so just quick note, we might need to edit this out. When is this going live?
It's probably going right away. So I was hoping to do a second. So we can still talk about it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
What we can do is we can save it as an outtake and then put it in
for sure. You decide. Yeah.
Or
so
you can talk about because you do MamaCon as well.
Yeah, I'll talk about both for sure. Yeah. So Mamas & Co. is a community for mama entrepreneurs at all ages and stages, even if you're just thinking of starting a business. If you are a mom and you are ready to start taking steps, then we are here for you. And back in the day, we started with our first conference, which was MamaCon, which you've been a part of, you've been a sponsor of. And essentially what we decided is that twice a year, we want to get our mamas together for a party. We want to celebrate how far our mamas have come in their businesses. And then we want to give them the tools and strategies to help them grow. So depending on when your people are listening to this, we have 2 conferences. One is in the spring called Business Boot Camp, which is right around the corner from when we're recording this. And one is in the fall called MamaCon. So at any given time, we're probably promoting one of those 2 or working up to one of those 2. So, and why I love Business Boot Camp is we always do it in the spring. So it's like the season of rebirth. And this year, more than any other year, we really felt like this was a true rebirth. And so the theme of the event is called Ready to Rise. And it really is based around, our mamas have spent the last year trying to juggle, trying to carry the load. They're exhausted. And so what we thought, what if we just cut through the crap and brought together the people that we know we'll be able to give them the tools, right? So I'm not a fan of just motivational speakers. I think that's nice, but I really am a huge fan of people who are great at what they do and can teach it well and can give you solid, tangible tips and strategies, things that you can go and apply right away. And so this time we have Amber Lillystrom, who is amazing, who's going to be speaking on money mindset, which we all need. I don't care how far along you are, we all need money mindset. We have my old coach, Rick Mulready, who's going to be speaking on leadership and growing a team, which I know is key to your people as well. And we have my current coach, Ron Reich, who is a true marketing and funnels genius. So he's going to be sharing his marketing strategies with us. I'm going to be speaking about one of my favorite topics, which is sales, specifically like sales conversations and relationships. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun day. It's Friday, April 23rd, and we would be happy to offer your listeners a discount on tickets if they would like to attend. Should I share that?
Yes, please. Yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. So if you're listening to this, you'd like to buy a business bootcamp ticket, head to mamasandco.com/bootcamp. So I'm sure we can put that in the show notes. And then the code is just the word Holly, HOLLY. That'll save you $15 off your standard ticket. And we would love to see some of you there.
Amazing. I love it. And that was actually the first event I was ever a part of with Mamas & Co.
Really?
I flew back from Florida just for that event.
No way.
So that was when you had the live event. And I don't know if it was Business Bootcamp or if it was, I think it was Business Bootcamp. It must have been. Or it might have been MamaCon.
MamaCon would have been October 2019, the one that I remember you being at.
Yeah, because I was
worth it though.
I know. We're actually about to go on a cruise.
So, oh, wow.
I literally took another flight, flew home, rented a car, showed up for the event, packed up all my gear. That's when we were making the personal perfume rollers and all that fun stuff.
And my favorite, your lip balm, which I am actually wearing right now. Yay, with a little bit of lip color added to it. But yeah, it's my favorite product. I use it every single day. You can't discontinue that product, Holly, ever, because I'm going to need it for the rest of my life. And my kids use it too. Julia's got her own because she gets really dry lips. So there's my little shout out I think you're amazing. I think you're doing fantastic things with your community as well. So grateful for you and all you've done to support Mamas & Co. And grateful for you to have me on your podcast as well.
Anytime. I know we'll chat more. Now, before we go, I want to know where people can find you. So what are some of the links? And we'll drop those obviously in there.
Sure. So if you love podcasts, then you need to listen to mine. It's called The Business of Thinking Big. And that's on, all of the podcast apps. So we'll link to that as well. You can follow me on Instagram at Lianne Kim Coach. I love to hear from people. So drop me a DM. Let me know what you think of this episode.
Thank you. Amazing. Well, we will chat, I know, more in the future as things are coming up. I want to pick your brain as much as we can along the way. So I look forward to talking with you more. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Holly. It's been a pleasure.
Would you like to learn more? Find me on Instagram and YouTube at Mom Days Podcast.